Hi there, this is Sean, the Honest Book Reviewer, with another book review. In this video, we're discussing Sunbathing, written by Isobel Beech. It's a novel that's in the long list for Best Debut Novel in the Indie Book Awards, which is an Australian book award. This novel is very introspective. It's all about the main characters, the protagonists' thoughts. So they're very introspective, very deep, and also about character growth. They're the two main elements in this book. It does have a coherent storyline, it does have a plot as well, but the plot is centered around the main character's acceptance of a tragedy, of how she's feeling about that tragedy and how she wants to work through that, and how she's trying to work through that as well. We get to see that progress in this book. So it's a story about loss, a story about forgiveness, a story about coming to terms with grief, coming to terms with survivor guilt, all different things in this book. It's a very challenging book, but if you like those type of books, if you like introspection and like really detailed character growth and character movement, and by movement I mean their mental state, not their physical state, then this is a book for you. In this book, our main character is telling the story from her point of view and makes to feel the story very personal. And I don't recall that we get to learn the name of the main character in this book. And that makes it personal as well, because it feels like you just know this person already because they're just talking about themselves. It's like a conversation, really. Similarly, in this book, when she's talking about the tragedy, about the person who died, that she was very close to, she calls them you. She doesn't call them by their first name, and we don't learn their first name. She calls them you. So that makes it very personal as well, because it's like we're listening into someone's conversation, someone's thoughts. That's what this book feels like. At the very start of this book, the main character is already in grief. She's so deep into her grief, she's spiraling out of control basically at the start of this book. Then she gets a lifeline, and that lifeline comes as an email from a friend who lives in Italy, in the countryside in Italy, and it's an invitation to come and stay. Come and stay for a number of weeks. I think it's almost 2 months or so it feels like in this book. Come and stay, relax, just come in and spend time with me, her best friend, and it just may help you. And also she's there because her best friend's getting married. So it's a lifeline because she can escape her thoughts, she can escape her surroundings, the reminder about this person close to her who passed away. She can escape all that, and she just thinks it just might be an opportunity to get out of herself, to get away from everything that sparks memories. And there's a lot of memories that get sparked in this book. So you can imagine when somebody's feeling something as strong as grief, and really deep grief, that different sounds, different smells, different sights will spark different memories. And the memories don't have to make sense to what they're going through, really. They're just spiraling. So memories can be random, memories can be strongly related, or this may be about something totally different. But those memories have an impact on the person in the middle of grief. And when the character in this book goes through memories, all those memories do impact her very much. When we're reading scenes about the Italian countryside, it's told to us as a sketch, a very basic sketch. There's not great depth in detail in the book about the Italian countryside, but it's okay. We give it enough detail to get a sense of where we are. We're not bogged down with detail, and I think if we were bogged down with detail in this book, it would take away the power of the book. It would take away some of the power of the author giving us these themes of grief and working through that grief and all that comes with it. So I think giving just a sketch of the countryside makes for a good impact in this book. It's just the right balance. And the author uses the countryside as a character as well. So in Italy, when our main character is in Italy and she's spending time with her best friend and her best friend's fiance, everything feels so comfortable. Everything feels very just carefree, very effortless. Their conversations, just the writing itself as well feels effortless when the scenes are in Italy. Everything just feels just like you're there and you're spending time with best friends. That's the impression you get when you read the book. And that's down to how the author creates the Italian countryside as a character. Because our main character, our protagonist, interacts with the Italian countryside in a totally different way than she interacts back home. And we can see that because we have a snippet of her home before she flies to Italy. At the conclusion of the book, we have her back in Melbourne as well. And during the book, through memories, we have her in Melbourne, leading up to the tragedy and after the tragedy. So it's a different way she interacts with Melbourne than Italy. So it's using place, it's using the setting as a different character, because the setting causes the main character, our protagonist, to react in different ways, to act in different ways, and feel about herself in different ways as well. When I think about the scenes in Melbourne, I think they're written with a bit of aggression. They're more aggressive than the scenes in Italy. It's almost like underneath these settings and these scenes in Melbourne, there's this really baseline thump going through the setting, going through those scenes. And it's just driving this aggression, increasing it with the main character. And you get that in certain scenes in the book, through dialogue with different friends that she recalls, and different things she sees and feels when in Melbourne. It's just this deep bass that's going through those scenes that's driving just a bit of aggression out of the character. There are some times where there are scenes in the story that pull you out of the main storyline, the main theme in the book. And that was a bit disappointing. This book is concentrating on grief, exploring it, exploring survivor guilt, exploring just coming to terms with loss, working through all that, everything it means. And when you have different scenes that rip you out of that, it does ruin the read a little bit. For example, there's one scene that goes for a lot of pages, and it's an argument with the main character and her friends back in Melbourne before the tragedy, I think it was, and they're talking about different cohorts and which cohort deserves the most societal grieving, if someone in that cohort is to die. And society as a whole grieves for them, makes a big deal out of it, in the media and things like that. Which cohort deserves that more? And that felt really odd to me, that people would sit down and debate that, especially with the argument, the detail in the argument. It felt really off, and it didn't really match the overall theme of this book. Also, there's a theme with narcotic use, and that felt out of place as well. Just felt way off centre, and I didn't understand why it was there. When I see things like that sometimes in books, and I've read a few books lately where scenes like this pop up, I just get the impression that some authors are trying to inject a bit of edginess into their stories, just because they think they have to, especially if they have characters who are younger, maybe in their 20s. And it just feels like that authors think they have to do that, and I don't understand why. If it doesn't match the story, if it feels out of place, why put it in there? Just because you've got young people in your story doesn't mean you have to have them doing things like this. There's no need to be edgy. The main character, who I don't think we learn her name in the book, and that makes it feel more personal. And other authors have done this as well. Tessa Moshfegh is one who does this a lot. Many of her books, the main character, you don't learn the name of the main character. In this book, the main character's voice is very consistent. Her point of view is consistent, and it's very introspective, and I did enjoy the introspection for most of the time in the book. In the present day, in the Italian countryside, I thought that came through a lot clearer. Sometimes in the past, some of those memories felt jarring to the rest of the story, so her voice felt a bit lost in some of those moments. But overall, I think the author's done a great job with his character's voice. The character's father, who's referred to as you in the story, that's a great use of making it personal as well, because you is like we're just hearing the main character have a conversation to this person in the book, to her father, and it just draws you into it more. It just makes everything a bit sharper, a bit clearer, and a bit more personal. I enjoyed the build-up of this character in the book. The character's not there as a character that we experience in a real setting. The character's always there in memory, and that's different because it's the main character's biased point of view of another character. That's what we get. But through the main character's point of view, through that lens, we see a character that's caring, a character that's loving, a character that sometimes seems a little lost, maybe misunderstood. We see a lot of different things in this father character, and it's interesting to get all those things without having that character interact with anybody in the present storyline. Giulia, who's the friend in Italy, and I probably mispronounced the name, this character is interesting because she's a comfort. She's in the Italian countryside setting, and that whole setting was very comfortable, had that sense of comfort, sense of calm in that setting, and this person does as well, the character in the book. So I found her an interesting character. She is a bit one-dimensional though, so there's really only one side to her, this comforting side, this expressive and quiet side. We don't get anything really deep with this character, which was disappointing. I would have thought that we'd get something deep, even through the main character's point of view, we'd get something deep, but we don't. We just get a character that's one-dimensional, always showing comfort, always showing understanding, always showing a calm side. It fit the Italian setting in the book, it fit that countryside feel and theme, but it'd be good to get a more complex character in that best friend. Overall, I enjoyed this book. I thought it's a worthwhile read, and I do recommend it. It's interesting to see books that explore grief and loss and tragedy. I've read a book last year who did the same thing, but from a different point of view, where the main character was ill. The main character had cancer, and it was the last few months of that main character's life, but it explored grief and loss and tragedy, but in a different way. But this book is very introspective. The character growth of the main character, the character movement of the main character's emotions and psychopathy, that is interesting in this book and done quite well. I rate it a 3.5 out of 5. I do recommend it. Be interesting to see how this goes in the book awards. I think it's a contender for best debut book. On my channel, I review books from many different genres. Check out my channel and subscribe. I'm sure you'll find something you like.